This is TWiT.
So we gotta start with the rumors. Again, this is MacBreak Weekly, so we're breaking the rumors. I don't know. I'm trying. And it starts with Apple's plans for AR and VR. Tim Cook has said, yeah, AR is pretty cool in some form or another in every single one of the earnings calls for as long as I had been transcribing them. And I don't know if he's still doing that, Lory, but he certainly had been talking up AR for some time. And it's maybe clear now why, according to sources familiar with the matter, sources close to the company, sources this, sources that. Apple is working on a mixed reality system that starts with a headset and then later becomes just glasses. So, Lory Gill, are you excited for Apple glasses?
So, you know, I've said this before. AR and VR right now are not quite consumer level. It still seems a little far off to me. Well, I think the rumor is 2022, right? So we've got a couple of years for that. The use cases for them don't seem to be quite strong enough to be presenting something worthwhile. And Apple's, you know, I don't think Apple would enter this market until it feels that it has a good consumer product. With that in mind, though, AR has gotten a lot better at becoming something we could use every day, especially in terms of outdoor use and in this idea of, you know, being able to have your map. You look out and you see buildings and it shows you what the address is or what the building is, like what the business is. So that kind of thing definitely potentially could be great for just a pair of glasses. In terms of the mixed reality headset, something more like, you know, the VR headsets that we're familiar with right now. I don't know. Apple hasn't won in terms of gaming, even with Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade is not as popular on Mac as it is on iOS and Apple TV and stuff. So, you know, a mixed reality type headset, you know, that would be like a VR headset, doesn't seem like it would be something that would, you know, go over that well. So I don't know. It still seems a little early. I'm interested to see how this plays out, and maybe big things are happening in the next 2 years that'll make it worthwhile for Apple to launch something that soon.
I seem to see them kind of laying a base. I don't know how folks feel about this, but we have right now the new iPhones that include this ultra-wideband chip in them. And this ultra-wideband chip is going to give some spatial awareness in a way that we have not had up to this point. After that, according to the Bloomberg article by Mark Gurman, we are going to see an iPad Pro, in theory, allegedly, reportedly, in the first half of 2020 that's going to have a 3D system that lets people create three-dimensional reconstructions of rooms, objects, and people. Now, it starts there in the iPad, then it comes to the iPhone. So suddenly you have an iPhone that can do 3D mapping. You've got an ultra-wideband chip inside. You've got these little Apple tags hanging out in your place, and you have companies taking advantage of these this spatial awareness with UWB. And in that world, I can start to see where AR suddenly makes sense. If all of these devices, and Apple's doing differential privacy and things like that to keep everybody's personal data protected, but if a billion iPhones in people's pockets, y'all, if you've got all of that data out there that's doing the mapping, then suddenly I can see a world that they're building with AR.
Google's tried to do that, so it's not necessarily. I mean, the idea of mapping from your phone is interesting, but I mean, I do a lot of mapping, and so a mixture of LiDAR, photogrammetry, and then I've used, you know, there's been a variety of laser-based versions or some version of mapping that has been relatively inexpensive or phone-based for, you know, 3 or 4 years now, and that's been hard to get off the ground because it hasn't been very clean. You know, the data isn't very clean. Now, what it does do is allow you to improve your positional data. So if you look at what the, you know, Bluetooth LE is going to get you down to 3 or 4 feet, you know, of location. But theoretically, the ultra wideband will be much better than that. And when we start getting into a smaller box where we know mostly where the phone is, what that does is it reduces the number of variables as we start to hash out that data, this room data. So I know that I only have to search, you know, if I know where your phone is and roughly where it's pointed, I can very quickly figure out exactly where you are in that room down to the millimeter, at least where the phone is. Right. You know, because when you see those little points and things are tracking and not slipping, that means I know exactly where your phone is. And so mixed with that, it allows me to very, very closely pinpoint your positional data. Now that has some, as Lory alluded to, it has some great opportunities for just knowing where things are and how to find things, but it also has incredible opportunities. If you think about a museum, being able to build you a digital tour that is based exactly where you're looking, exactly what you're looking at, and giving you a whole bunch of extra information, annotations via AR, you know, extra bits and pieces. And that can be done whether it's you're going through restoration hardware, it's showing you things that this could be done and how this is assembled. And, you know, you can basically add enormous amounts of data to what you're looking at with the AR, if you really know where you're at and you really know the context of what you're looking for. And so that is available that's going to be available on the phone. I mean, that could be available right now. This is just a limitation of people making the content. So there's a lot of it. Google has been playing with this for a long time. The real problem was the attempt to make it easy. Like, we just have a phone when we walk through and map it, you just get bad data. So in the areas where we've taken LiDAR and mixed that with photogrammetry, you know, so we have both structured and unstructured data. Essentially, now you get incredible amounts of to work with, you know, of data to deal with. And so I think that, you know, we can keep on playing with the phones, and I think that we'll be able to do some stuff with it. And there are lots of apps that do this now, where you can kind of scan a bit of something here and there. But to really get it working for big locations, I think they're going to need to use bigger tools. Now, the great thing is, the thing that's most interesting, I think almost anybody can download it now. I think you might need a developer, but the Reality Composer.
Yes. Yeah.
So
been playing
anybody should play with Reality Composer. So, you know, you download it, play with it, because now you're getting to see a codeless ability to throw things, you know, out there. You can throw things in there. You can give them some behaviors and so on and so forth, and throw them out there. And that is Apple reducing the amount of work it takes by 10x to be able to start building the core components for an AR experience. And so you're seeing that kind of go down the path. USD, the other thing to keep your eye on is USDZ. So USD is the Universal Scene Description, which is Pixar's transport file format. Apple added a Z to it, which is zip. I think it's just that it zips down into a single file. It's like, you know, like I'm sure the Pixar was like, oh, I really wish I had thought of that. So anyway, by zipping it up, it makes it a compact piece. Now, we're not seeing that rolling out everywhere just yet. So you know, but USDZ, I hope is going to eventually, we're going to see it in all the apps that Apple makes, other people's apps that are, you know, starting to come out. There's
some furniture stores have been using it a little bit. I've seen it's a game console, little yellow game console made by the folks at Panic, I think. Who's it made? I can't remember.
Right. Panic makes it.
Yeah, Panic makes it, and they have used the USDZ format to show you it on a table.
And the advantage of the USDZ format is that it's not just geometry. It's the geometry, it's the texture maps, it's the lighting, it's the behaviors, it's the animation. All of those things can be put into one format and then made available. Now, some of that, getting that to work with everything is still a big challenge. But so we're seeing all these pieces coming together, and it's not there yet. But I think that it's really exciting. And when you start really thinking and playing with some of the ideas, there's a lot that could be done. I'm mostly interested in from an educational perspective,
right?
But there's a lot of places that can be done for entertainment and PR as well.
Now you named two terms. You named LiDAR, which I understand. What was the other one that you named, and how does that one work?
So photogrammetry is basically it's another way that we gather scene data.
Okay.
So basically what you can do is you can take photos of a given object from different angles, and this is just standard photos. You can do it with your iPhone. And the easiest one to use is a program called Metashape, in my opinion. It used to be called, I think, Photoscan. And it wasn't Photoscan. It was, anyway, so Metashape is the one that I kind of use a lot. And so basically what you do is you take a series of photos from different angles, and not straight on. You think that you want to take them front, side, whatever, but you actually want to shoot angles so that you have vanishing points. And so basically you shoot your object, and what it does is it says, okay, I'm going to look at all the points in every photo that are features. You know, these things look these look unique for these photos. Then it takes all those unique those unique patterns, and it compares them to all the other photos. And it says, where can I find the same pattern in all the other photos? And so it goes out and looks and attaches them all. If it can get at least 8 to 12 per pair between the two pairings, and it says, okay, these are the same. Now when I look at it, and if I have vanishing points, I can figure out, I can actually reverse engineer where the cameras were.
I see.
And I can figure out what their focal length was. I can figure out a lot of other things. Now, it doesn't have to figure out focal length because usually when you take the picture, it's in the metadata, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, so it takes these photos, it finds the features, it then reverse engineers where the cameras are. Now, once it knows where the cameras are, their focal length and everything else, it can now figure out where every other point was. It can basically build a depth map within of every photo, and then from there extract surface points, and then from there extract geometry. And so you can actually build very complex 3D models from simple photographs. And so the problem with it is there's no scale, and oftentimes there's like areas that you can't see. So what you do is by mixing the LiDAR, this what we call structured data with the unstructured data, which is the photogrammetry, you're able to actually get all of the best of both worlds. You get the detail from the photogrammetry, you get the structure from the LiDAR, and you end up with very, very accurate and highly detailed data. And this is going to be a big deal. Today, Unreal just bought, now my brain just turned off. It's a company that I've been tracking for a while. It's they just bought Quixel. So there's a little company called Quixel, and it was a little press release that if you weren't watching both Quixel and Unreal, you probably wouldn't notice.
Right.
But what they do is they use photogrammetry and LiDAR to build lots and lots of real-time 3D assets, and assets for Unreal and so on and so forth. So that library coming to Unreal is going to be a big deal. And so, but you're seeing Unreal's paying attention to this. Unity is now, looking at this, and these are the two big companies dealing with real-time 3D data on every platform. Those are the two big players. And so it's kind of amazing, by the way, that Apple hasn't bought one of them.
They're waiting for them to buy the other one so they can just buy the whole thing.
Yeah. So anyway, but these are the two big players in this market, and so by Unreal grabbing this, it's really started an arms race. But this photogrammetry is, by the way, it's just, even if you never use it for work, it's my favorite pastime. Like when I'm walking around, I take pictures of stuff all the time just to build 3D models out of it.
Wow. So is this a program you have to use to make that happen?
Yeah, Metascan. You can download Metascan, and I think you can get a demo version that is free, and then you can pay a monthly fee if you want to actually export stuff out. I think there might be some free ones out there. I use Metascan because it's easy to it's really easy to use. But it's there was a 3D 123 capture, 123 capture that Autodesk put out, which was the old image modeler, code put into this, and then they turned it off. It was very frustrating. So
that's upsetting. Andy?
Just back to the idea of Apple making AR glasses. I just find it hard to imagine what they could make within the next 5 years that would fit what we expect from Apple and what we expect when we think about augmented reality glasses. It feels like putting humans in a spaceship and sending them to Mars. That's great, and you see the utility of it, but you still have the problem of, well, how do you keep these people safe from radiation, and how do you run like a two year long mission? With AR glasses, you get down to how do you get enough processing power in the glasses, even just to collect data and maintain communications with a phone in your pocket that's doing the most of the calculation. How do you have this this imaging hardware to put something in your field of vision that can run for an appreciable amount of time on a battery that wouldn't require some sort of a chest harness to build in the frame of glasses? And then even if you did, how do you have any sort of an imager that again can usefully place objects in your field of vision that don't make these things look like a hockey mask? And then finally, even if you did solve all those problems, how do you create a piece of technology that people are going to want to put on their faces, particularly if they don't use prescription glasses to begin with. And then you get into Apple would have to do a whole lot of communication saying that, well, I know that you associate, hey, look, the person you're talking to has a camera pointed at your face at all times while they're talking to you. That's more of a Facebook or a Google thing, but trust us, we're not going to make it creepy in any way, shape, or form. But the thing that makes I was really skeptical when people were predicting it for next year. I'm still skeptical at 2022. I'm thinking that in another 5 years, maybe, but I just don't get it. One thing though in Apple's favor is that with the Apple Watch, they did prove that they understand the importance of design in selling a technology that I don't think the Apple Watch would have gained all that traction if they had built something that looked like an Android Wear watch or one of the Samsung Gear watches, and a can of tuna on your wrist with a 9-volt battery stuck inside it. It looks like even when the Apple Watch is turned off as a static item, it looks like a very, very pretty watch that you might want to, if you saw it in a display case in a jewelry store, you might want to take a look at it even before you knew what it was. And so if any company could make a set of spectacles that people would be willing to put on their face because not only is it very, very pretty, but it also shows, oh, look, I can afford this luxury brand of Apple, they could do it. But again, this is on my list of things that I will believe when I actually see Tim Cook or Tim Cook's third generation clone on stage actually wearing them and demonstrating them in an event.